What's going on, guys? My name is Omega and welcome back to another Apex Legends video. So in today's video, I'm actually going to be showing you guys the origin story for every single heirloom in Apex Legends. Now, some of these signify a specific event that changed the Legends' lives for the better. Others are just a reminder of the dark and complicated past that many of these legends have been suppressing since joining the Apex games. Now, I will have timestamps on this video in case you guys are curious about the origin story for a specific heirloom, but without further ado, let's start with the origin story for Wraith and her Kunai Knife. So the story started with the Voidwalker Story from the Outlands that we got like in the beginning of when Apex Legends was released. Now, Voidwalker Wraith was on a mission in order to find and kill Dr. Amer Singh, who was the lead IMC scientist that actually led the Wraith project. Now, before she was known as Wraith, she was actually known as Renee Balazi and worked besides Dr. Amer Singh before he turned on her. Now, while Voidwalker Wraith was in this facility looking for her target, she realized that the doctor had already died, at least in the dimension that she was currently in. She was caught by an IMC scientist and forced to flee back into the void. While escaping, Voidwalker Wraith noticed another version of herself being tied down by an IMC scientist. Voidwalker Wraith tried to warn the other Wraith about the situation, which at that point is actually how we learned that the voices that Wraith hears inside her head are actually herself talking to her while in the void. When the warning didn't work, Voidwalker Wraith left the void in order to save the other version of Wraith. She knocks out the IMC scientist and frees Wraith using her Kunai Knife before handing it over to her. Now, one of the most important scenes in regard to this heirloom is when Wraith and Voidwalker Wraith were discovered. A fight breaks out and regular Wraith hears a voice to watch out behind her, and when she throws the Kunai Knife at the scientist who is about to attack her, she gets the chance to kill the scientist with her knife, but decides instead just to knock him out. When Voidwalker Wraith asked her why she hesitated and didn't kill him, regular Wraith responded by saying,
I'm not looking for revenge. I want to know who I am. Too bad. Well, maybe one day you'll get what you're looking for.
Now, what's cool about this is how the different personalities of the two Wraiths actually are. Voidwalker is clearly just looking for revenge, while regular Wraith just wants to know why she is the way she is. When Voidwalker Wraith gave her the Kunai Knife, it almost resembled the passing of a torch from one-dimensional character to another. Voidwalker Wraith had already completed her mission by finding Amer Singh, while regular Wraith was just beginning her mission searching for answers. The story ends when regular Wraith escapes the IMC facility by entering the void for the first time. She leaves the facility and sees herself standing in front of the building site for what would be the start of the Apex games on Kings Canyon. Now, next up, we're going to talk about Bloodhound's Heirloom, which came from the Old Ways Story from the Outlands, when Bloodhound was a young child being raised by their uncle Arthur after Bloodhound's dad was killed in a giant avalanche. Now, what's interesting is that both the heirloom and the raven that flies around with Bloodhound were both originally owned by Uncle Arthur. Now, the story starts off with Bloodhound's uncle handing them the Raven's Bite heirloom so that Bloodhound can complete a rite of passage in order to be accepted by their village. Bloodhound's only task was to hunt down a prowler and kill it using the heirloom. If Bloodhound succeeded, they would be accepted as a permanent member of the tribe. If Bloodhound failed this mission, however, they would be forced to leave the village and never return. Now, while on the mission, Bloodhound finds the prowler but realizes it was already killed by something much bigger. After following the trail of blood through a cave, Bloodhound discovers the charge rifle, which was hidden away and being guarded by this giant beast. The beast tries to kill Bloodhound, but since they had the charge rifle, they were easily able to defend themselves and ended up severely injuring this giant thing. Before heading back to the village, Bloodhound buried the charge rifle and presented the tusk to their Uncle Arthur, in which Uncle Arthur told Bloodhound to leave and never return, since it was very obvious that Bloodhound had used some kind of technology to kill this beast. They returned the heirloom before leaving when they realized the giant beast had come back to terrorize the village. Uncle Arthur ends up sacrificing himself by jumping on top of the beast and trying to cut it with the Raven's Bite. He did not succeed, obviously, and ended up being killed by the giant beast. Right before dying, he gives a very emotional speech before returning the heirloom to Bloodhound.
You will be the first, Bloodhounder. The old father guides you now.
Now, Bloodhound ends up returning to the Beast Lair to finish the job when Uncle Archer's Raven appears, which also hints to Bloodhound that they should try and break the pipe the Raven was currently sitting on. Bloodhound throws their heirloom, breaking open the pipe that sprays cryogenic gas everywhere. This kills the beast, and Bloodhound is forced to crawl away before picking up a respirator that was being worn by a dead soldier. Bloodhound finishes the job by using the Raven's Bite in order to destroy what was left of the beast. Now, while Bloodhound's heirloom obviously saved their life, it also gave them a permanent breathing condition in which they were forced to wear a respirator for the rest of their life. This also now signifies to Bloodhound how important the old ways traditions were. If Bloodhound had never went into that cave, never picked up the charge rifle, there's a good chance that their Uncle Archer would still be alive. So that is unfortunately something that Bloodhound is going to have to live with for the rest of their life. Moving on to Octane's butterfly knife. Now, while we have not seen his heirloom being used in any cinematics, we do know that his butterfly knife is definitely an attest to Octane's personality. Butterfly knives are obviously very quick to use and can also be very dangerous. Many experts who wield butterfly knives also like to show off their skills, which is exactly what Octane did in his past, as he attempted very dangerous stunts in public before joining the Apex games. Now, what's interesting about his heirloom is that not only is it a weapon, but it's also a way for Octane to inject himself with stim. While we don't know what exactly is inside his stim, we do know that Octane takes it from Silva Pharmaceuticals, which is the same company that his father owns. Now, one thing you may have never noticed is that up until Octane's heirloom came out, we never saw him use the stim for recreational purposes. In other words, we would only see him use it during a fight in order to actually run faster. Now, after the release of Octane's heirloom, an animation was discovered where Octane would twirl the knife in his hand and inject a little bit of the stim into his bloodstream. When doing this, he did not run faster. Instead, he would just feel super happy and jittery that he got some stim into him. This basically confirmed what many people originally believed, which is that Octane is addicted to using his stim even when he is not participating in the games. You can definitely notice this when Octane is not moving. He gets very jittery whether you're in game or just on the main menu screen. So while his heirloom is very cool to use and definitely reflects Octane's daredevilish personality, it also shines light onto a darker, more addictive side of Octane that doesn't really ever get talked about in the lore. Now, moving on to Lifeline shock sticks, Lifeline's heirloom is similar to Octane in which it hasn't yet appeared in any cinematics on YouTube. However, in the past 2 seasons, we have learned a little bit more in regards to why Lifeline's heirlooms are shock sticks. So at first, many people thought that her heirloom was supposed to represent defibrillators that were shaped into drumsticks. The drumsticks aspect of it was a mystery up until the end of season 6, when we discovered that Lifeline used to be the drummer in a band called the Flyer Liars. You could see this from an image on Watson's desk that Apex Legends actually posted their Twitter a couple of weeks before the launch of season 7. Currently don't know who actually gave Lifeline her shock sticks. I don't think it has anything to do with her parents. As we've seen from the questline, she doesn't really have the best relationship with her parents, but this is kind of one of those heirlooms that I think was just more thrown in there for fun and not really because it had any significant importance to the lore. Next up, we're going to talk about Mirage's trophy heirloom, which out of all of the heirlooms is actually probably one of the most depressing backstories. So Mirage's heirloom, as you guys know, is a golden statue of himself that definitely reflects, his overly confident and charming personality, but it also shows a very dark and depressing side to Mirage's life. While inspecting the heirloom, Mirage has a voice line where he laughs and says, "Mom is going to love this." Now, we know from the lore that Mirage and his mother had a very close relationship growing up. She was a holotech engineer who originally introduced Mirage to the technology that would allow him to create decoys. Mirage and his mom had such a close relationship that he actually got her permission before joining the Apex games because he didn't want to do it unless she supported his decision. What's important about Mirage's mother is that she either suffers from dementia or Alzheimer's disease and has a hard time remembering who her son is. This was confirmed from an Easter egg on Mirage Voyage, where you could hear a phone call between Mirage and his mother in which he has to remind her that he is Elliot, her son.
Yeah, that's right, Mom.
Rings around the corner.
I'm your
We've
son.
got 30 seconds.
Elliot. Yeah, of course. Don't worry. I'll win for you today. Always for my #1 fan. Yeah, you go enjoy your pork chops. I know they're your favorite. I'm gonna go win the chance. I'm gonna go be the best. All right. Love you, Mom.
10 till ring closes.
Bye.
So, where did Mirage's trophy come from? Now, one theory is that Mirage made the trophy for his mom so that she would have an easier time remembering who he is. This might explain why Mirage has been involved in the Apex games for so long. He knows that his past memories with his mother will forever just be memories, since there is a good chance she is going to one day completely forget who he is. Another theory is that Mirage's mom did make the trophy for him before he entered the games, but doesn't remember due to her condition. Maybe the trophy is something that Mirage has shown his mom before, and maybe he just likes seeing her new reaction every time she sees it again. Regardless, his heirloom definitely symbolizes Mirage's charming and outgoing personality, but it also shows a darker side to his life, one where he needs to constantly participate in the games because he knows how happy it makes his mother seeing Mirage win, even if she does forget that Mirage and her son are one and the same. Now, moving on to Pathfinder's boxing gloves, it is still currently unknown how Pathfinder actually got his boxing glove set. However, the recent Fight Night Story from the Outlands did answer some question that we had regarding its origin. Now, before joining the games, Pathfinder was doing random side jobs before he crossed paths with Victor Maldera, who's an ex-cop that got laid off after getting to a fight with his supervisor when he failed to capture Alexander Knox, aka Caustic. Victor was also a boxer who at one point in time was friends with Forge, another professional fighter who, as you guys know, was murdered by Revenant back in season 4. While Pathfinder's specific heirloom did not appear in the Fight Night trailer, there was a scene in the beginning where Pathfinder picked up a boxing glove that was on Victor's desk, obviously signifying his interest in, fighting and just learning what that was. Pathfinder most likely learned his boxing moves though from watching Victor fight during the Fight Night cinematic. Now, there isn't really much information on how Pathfinder got his boxing gloves, which were obviously made specifically for him. He most likely won them by entering boxing matches before the Apex games. We do know his town takeover is a boxing ring on Olympus, which is actually the only time we have seen Pathfinder use his boxing gloves in any kind of cinematic. Next up, we have Caustic's hammer. Now, Caustic's hammer mainly symbolizes the fact that Caustic used to work for Vincent Dynamics, which was confirmed during the Broken Ghost quest. Vincent Dynamics is a weapon and Titan manufacturer from the Titanfall series. They were also the same people responsible for rebuilding Ash into a simulacrum following the Battle of Typhon. Now, there's actually a secret animation when using the Caustic Heirloom where a giant spider will crawl out of the heirloom for a quick second before crawling back in. This specific spider is actually mentioned in Caustic's death certificate when he was formerly known as Alexander Knox. The text says that the chemical components found in his gas are very similar to a large forest-dwelling spider found in the Amelia mountain ranges on Gia. Now, there's still a lot that we don't know about Caustic's heirloom, including where he got it from, who gave it to him, whether he built it himself or whatnot. We are most likely probably going to learn a little bit more information throughout this year, since we are planning on getting a Caustic Town takeover very soon. Now, the last heirloom we're going to go over is the one for Gibraltar. Despite this one being the newest heirloom that came out, we actually have a lot of information on where it came from and how it actually got into Gibraltar's hands. So first off, Gibraltar's heirloom is called a Patu, which was custom made for him by his ex-boyfriend Nicholas. We met Nicholas in the season 7 quest when Gibraltar ran into him at a party. Gibraltar was obviously not over his ex at this time, as he still carried around the heirloom that was custom made for him. Nicholas even refers to the gem on Gibraltar's heirloom as Little Mouse, which we really don't know too much about. It might be just something that they had an inside joke about, or maybe just something that really connected them on a deeper level. Now, during the comic, Gibraltar and Nicholas almost get killed after an explosion caused part of a building to fall right on top of them. Once everyone is safe inside Gibraltar's dome, Gibraltar explained to Nick that he felt so bad for destroying his life. Now, for those guys that don't know, Gibraltar's lore starts off by saying he only began to understand the value of protecting others when he and his boyfriend stole his father's motorcycle, took it on a joyride, and got trapped by a deadly mudslide. His parents saved them, and his father lost an arm in the process. Gibraltar has never forgotten that sacrifice and has devoted his life to helping those in need. So this heirloom origin story was definitely touching. I mean, it's obvious that Gibraltar still cares about his ex-boyfriend, but he is definitely still haunted by what happened to him when he was younger. Probably feels really bad for his dad losing his arm. He feels bad that Nicholas was even involved in that altogether, because it looks like Nicholas took the blame for what actually happened. I'm sure, just like with Caustic's heirloom, we'll probably learn more about this, in the future. Maybe if Nicholas ever returns in a future quest or a comic, we'll probably learn some more information about this heirloom. Now, hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video. Let me know down in the comments below which story really spoke out to you the most, or anything that you guys just didn't know before watching this video. Anyways, hopefully you guys have a great rest of your week. I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace out.